Cyberpunk 2077 was easily one of the most anticipated video games of 2020, and most of that hype was built on the back of several years of promises made by its Polish developers, CD Projekt Red, as well as growing praise from the larger gaming press after the game's prior showings at gaming conventions like E3 and Gamescom. But following several delays, accusations of workplace crunch, and a botched launch on last-gen consoles, the game seems to be garnering nothing but bad press these last couple of weeks. Except somewhere beneath all that news of bugs and glitches, and threats of litigation from aggrieved shareholders, lies a great game that is truly worth experiencing, provided you have a capable PC. Hi guys, Michael Abayemi here, and today I'm reviewing the new open world RPG, Cyberpunk 2077. Based on a late 80s tabletop role-playing game, Cyberpunk 2077 has players taking control of a mercenary named V in a dystopian city riddled with gang wars and ruled by corporate overlords. And in true RPG fashion, you get to customize a version of V to your heart's content, with options for gender, physical appearance, and one of 3 backstories that determine where you start out in the game's prologue, and not much else aside from some few dialogue choices throughout your playthrough. You also get to assign more traditional RPG stats called attribute points. These include body, reflexes, technical ability, intelligence, and cool, with each one determining how you fare at various activities in the game, so you can spec out your character according to your preferred playstyle. And I can't stress that last part enough, because you earn both attributes and perk points as you play, and the game really does allow you to approach its various main and side missions how you please. So if you prefer to go in guns blazing, you need to focus on body and reflexes to ensure you always have the upper hand in a firefight. But if you prefer to take a more stealthy approach, then you want to focus on the intelligence and cool attributes, and look at unlocking some of the various perks available under those particular skill trees. Once you are done creating your character, you are thrust into Night City, a beautiful open world that is drenched in neon lights and the glow of giant holographic displays. Emphasis on the word beautiful, because Cyberpunk 2077 boasts some of the best graphics I have seen in a video game to date. Maybe it is my affinity for cyberpunk stories in general, but something about the setting and story of this particular game really appeals to me. The world is experienced from a first-person perspective, and at first, I was a bit bummed out that there was no option to switch to third-person outside of driving sequences. But after seeing the level of immersion the developers were going for, with highly detailed car interiors and character models that manage to hold up no matter how close you get to them, I came to understand the reasoning behind the choice. And there's plenty to do in Night City, including the various main and side missions you are presented with. The fact that the quality of both types of missions are virtually identical shouldn't come as a surprise to those that have played the developer's previous game, The Witcher 3. And these missions are really brought to life in Cyberpunk 2077 with the help of some great writing and truly stellar voice work across the board. You come across a growing roster of acquaintances during your time in Night City, but none of them are as ever present as the rocker boy turned computer construct, Johnny Silverhand. He was voiced by Keanu Reeves, who was more than adequate in the role, and I found that my V was able to forge a somewhat beautiful relationship with him over the course of my playthrough. You also get to forge relationships with other characters in the game, some of which even impacts the ending you get when it's all said and done. The combat in the game is another area I found myself enjoying a lot more than I anticipated. The game plays like a typical first-person shooter, with RPG elements thrown in, so expect a lot of bullet-spongy enemies, especially while dealing with those ones several levels ahead of you. But the more I leveled up and spec'd out my character to account for my preferred playstyle, the more fluid those combat encounters became. By the time I arrived at the late game portion of the game, I had maxed out my body stats and unlocked the ability to double jump, so that I was able to dash in and out of firefights almost effortlessly, before settling down to snipe harder enemies from the safety of a neighboring rooftop. It's a shame then that I can't say the same thing about the driving portions of the game. The vehicles themselves look awesome, with unique interiors like I mentioned earlier, and some of them handle well enough. But the minimap was always frustrating to use, as it was zoomed in so close that I tended to miss my turns while trying to drive around the city and follow away points at the same time. Couple that with the truly brain-dead AI of the other drivers on the roads, and I found that the game left a lot to be desired here. Speaking of AI, this is another area where the game falls short of those early promises made by CD Projekt Red. Not only did we not get full daily routines for 1,000+ NPCs around the city, their reactions to your moment-to-moment actions are also more limited than you'd expect from a game of this caliber. Then of course, we have the various graphical glitches and bugs that plagued the game at launch, many of which are yet to be patched out at the time of this review. I encountered everything from T-posing NPCs to wonky ragdoll physics, and more than a few bosses that simply lost all desire to live in the middle of a boss fight. While many of these aren't exactly unheard of in an open world game of this size, they are especially glaring given the lengthy development time of the game and just how many there are. Which begs the question, why was Cyberpunk 2077 released at all in such a broken state? I won't even pretend to know the answer to that particular question, but I think the issue mainly stems from the game being so ambitious for its own good. CD Projekt Red had clearly set out to create one of the most immersive open worlds ever seen in a video game, all while still upholding their high standards for great storytelling and world building. And to some degree, they've achieved that feat. But all that came at the price of a core game that feels half-baked in places, as well as an open world that, despite being beautiful to look at, falls way short of the high standards established by the various Rockstar games of the past few years. I expect that most of those bugs and glitches will be ironed out with future patches, and the core game itself would see improvements through forthcoming DLC. Until then though, Cyberpunk 2077 on PC is a game still worth experiencing on the strength of its premise and story alone. I'll give the game an 8 out of 10. Have you also been playing Cyberpunk 2077 this past month? Or are you waiting for all the kinks to get ironed out first? Let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed watching this review, and to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on if you'd like to see more reviews like this in the future. And until the next one, this is Michael, signing off.